Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Thanksgiving again, only this time it's a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie, guys, please don't watch this review yet because there's going to be a lot of spoilers in it. If you want to know more about the film but don't want to be spoiled, I did do a non-spoiler review yesterday, so check that out before you check this one out, because please understand there's spoilers in this video. Like I said in my last video, this movie is about a whodunit killer who goes around killing people on Thanksgiving because the year before there was a massacre or a killing at Black Friday and this person's loved one was killed and he wants to get revenge for that person dying. So this is where the spoilers begin, guys. I didn't know this, but Gina Gershon is in this film. I didn't know until I saw the movie. But Gina Gershon is the loved one in this film. She's got a husband in the movie. We see that there's a sheriff, played by Patrick Dempsey, who he kind of likes Gina Gershon as well. So throughout this film, we're thinking, is the killer going to be Patrick Dempsey or is it going to be Gina Gershon's husband in the film? Because she died in Black Friday, on the Black Friday killing. I think a couple of people died, a few bystanders, a security guard died as well. And at the beginning of the film, it was just an absolute massacre. People were getting stomped on, stabbed by accident. And even when they were dying, people were taking items off them. It was quite funny, but also quite horrendous as well. But Gina Gershon, she gets trampled by a couple of shopping carts, shopping trolleys, and a part of her skin comes off her head. Pretty disgusting. So that's when Patrick Dempsey thought to himself, oh my God, he starts shooting in the air, telling everybody to stop, and people were recording it, it'll get put online, and whoever the killer was like, I'm going to get revenge. So it cuts to a year later where people start getting picked off one by someone dressed in the pilgrim costume. So us as the audience have to try and figure out who the killer is. Is it one of the teens that are hanging about? Is it someone who left and came back? Is it one of the new sheriffs that came in? So I love the aspect of the whodunit because I genuinely didn't really know who it was. I was guessing some people. I guessed right a couple of times, but then took that away. Until the very end when we find out, yes, that it is Patrick Dempsey, the sheriff, who is the killer. He did love Gina Gershon, even though she had a husband. They loved each other, and she was also pregnant with his baby. So he wanted to be the one to be the killer. So he was killing people throughout the film. So yes, that's the spoiler. So yeah, I think a lot of people did guess that it was Patrick Dempsey because he looked like one of the obvious ones throughout the film. But there were still moments where I thought, maybe it's that person or maybe it's that person. And I do love the reveal that it was Patrick Dempsey. I love the fact that he's getting revenge for his girlfriend. I would say wife, but it's not his wife. So just seeing everyone fending for themselves on Black Friday, not having a care in the world, all they do is care about themselves. Whereas he's a good sheriff, he's a good guy at the beginning, and he sees her lying on the ground, nobody cares at all. So he's very angry. So I think his motive is justified. Obviously, I wouldn't do it myself, but his motive is justified when it's revealed at the very end of the film, his reasons for doing what he does. If it was anyone else, I would maybe question that. So I think maybe that's why I thought Patrick Dempsey a couple of times, because I knew that he was in love with her. So it would make sense that he was getting revenge for her death. So when it comes down to the reasons for doing what he does, I'm okay with that. There is the infamous scene that you see in the fake trailer of the cheerleader jumping on the trampoline and then you see the knife coming up and she lands on it and between her legs. That doesn't quite happen in this film. I think they filmed it, but it was cut out. But the scene is still there. You see her jumping up and down the trampoline and the knife goes up, but only it goes into her heel and then she falls down and then as she's bouncing, the knife goes up and down a couple of times and she gets stabbed all over the body. It's still a brutal scene. However, maybe we'll see it in the uncut version of the Blu-ray or the 4K where you see that knife going where the sun don't shine. I don't even know how I feel about that, if I wanted to see that or not, because the fake trailer was hard enough to watch, even though you don't see it, but it's implied. And this one is not implied, but it's implied that it's about to happen, and then it doesn't. It wasn't disappointing because the scene was still brutal, but all the kills in this film are brutal. I don't think there was a really bad kill. Dead Meat does the kill count. I'm looking forward to seeing what he thinks is the best kill and the dullest kill in this film, because I think every kill is great. Someone gets their head twisted round at 180 degrees. Someone gets their face put on a freezer, and they have to pull it apart. And then she tries to run away from John Carver. She jumps into this bin, but as John Carver drives into the bin and she's jumping in, it cuts her body in half. he sticks it onto a star. It's absolutely disgusting, but you just can't look away. I did say that in my spoiler-free review that the kills are disgusting in this movie, and they absolutely are. Every kill is phenomenal, and that's pretty hard to... I don't know why I'm saying that, but it is. It's pretty phenomenal. Now, I don't really want to go over old ground from what I said in the non-spoiler review, but at the end of the film, John Carver rounds all his victims up, whether they're alive or dead, and he wants to tell them why he's doing what he does, and he doesn't even want to reveal himself. He tries to get away with it, but he ends up being caught by the main girl. But he's telling everybody that they should be thankful for things, the people that are still alive. And there was one scene, the worst kill for me, not saying it's the best kill, but the worst kill for me is when the guy who owns the store, it's basically his fault for keeping the store open on Black Friday, his wife gets put into a human-sized oven and she gets burned alive. Oh, that's absolutely horrible. And she comes out like a Thanksgiving turkey. And then John Carver starts carving her up to feed to everyone. And everyone's been sick and like, oh my God, it's disgusting. And he even beats this guy over the head with the hammer, with the food hammer, until his skull just cracks open and you see his brains just splattered everywhere. So if you're a very squeamish person, guys, maybe this film isn't for you because the kills are nasty as hell. But after that finale scene, the bad guy, I'm saying John Carver, is it Jack Carver? John Carver, let's call him John Carver. He thinks he gets away, but the main girl, can't remember her name now, but she sees a few particles on the sheriff's trousers where she was running through a field when the bad guy was chasing her, and she notices them on his trousers, and he looks down and he's like, oh well, you've caught me, basically. So he tries to kill her. So there's a kind of a good finale scene where she's trying to get away. There's her love interest, I can't remember any of their names. Her love interest comes to save her. But at this point, I'm like, is there two killers? Is he part of it? I'm not quite sure. And then she's got a boyfriend who disappears for half of the film. His name's Ryan, I think. And he doesn't die. And I'm like, is he going to be a part of it in part two? At the end, it's kind of like, I still know what you did last summer. And I know what you did last summer, where we've got the survivors. She goes to bed with her boyfriend. And she looks up and she hears a noise in her cupboard. And she opens the door, and then there's Patrick Dempsey in flames coming after her, and she wakes up, and I'm like, okay, so are we going to get more Patrick Dempsey? Because the way he supposedly died at the end of the film, he got blown up by a big helium balloon, I think a big Santa Claus, or a big snowman, a big Santa Claus. Anyway, the whole factory kind of blows up and disintegrates what's in front of him. They find that a lot of things, the fire brigade find a lot of things in there apart from his body, so his body's still missing. They think it's disintegrated, but he could still be alive. We just don't know. So it leaves it open for a part two, and I think the way they left the movie open was great, because if it's a one and done film, the ending is acceptable to be a one and done, but they've left it open for a sequel. So if the movie does well at the box office, which I'm hoping it does, we could easily have a sequel, and that sequel could involve Patrick Dempsey coming back because he didn't die. He's maybe a little bit burnt. Or maybe he's got a son, because he mentions that he doesn't have a wife or anything, but he could have a son with an ex-wife or a daughter. Maybe Ryan will turn out to be his son. Maybe the other guy who disappears now and again could be his son. There's so many options to come with a Thanksgiving 2. I'm glad they left it the way they did, because the ending for me was great. I think if this movie does well at the box office, not only will we get a sequel, but I think we might get a franchise out of this. And I also love the costume of the killer. I think as well that we'll get a costume come out. Maybe Trick or Treat Studios will do a costume, because I think the costume's fantastic. Very simple design, but very creepy at the same time. So I'm hoping that they maybe do that as well. Get some licensing done for that, and maybe a NECA figure. I think we could have another good franchise killer on our hands with John Carver, and it doesn't have to be Patrick Dempsey all the time. It could be someone that something happens to them and they're a copycat and they copy what Patrick Dempsey done previously because he's the original killer. It's great. I also love the fact that, spoiler alert for Five Nights at Freddy's as well, guys. I'll give you a second. Spoiler alert for that. In this year, we've had 2 Scream characters come back and they're the killers. You've got Stu was the killer in Scream 1, but he was also the killer in Five Nights at Freddy's. And then you get Patrick Dempsey, who was in Scream 3, and then he's the killer in Thanksgiving. So it's a year for Scream characters, or past Scream characters. Maybe we'll have a third one eventually before the year comes out. But anyway, guys, I absolutely loved Thanksgiving. I'm glad I gave it a few days before I'd done this review to think about it, and I still love it. I'm going to go and see it again because it was great. One of the best teen slasher movies I've seen for an awful long time. It felt very 90s, very nostalgic, even though it's a new film, and it's hard for a film to do that these days because there's no social politics, no social commentary. It's just a straight up teen slasher film with a great whodunit, a great costume, amazing kills, and a great ending to the movie. What more can you ask for a teen slasher movie, guys? Anyway, I know you've seen the film because you've watched this review, so leave your comments down below. Let me know if you liked the movie, if you saw that it was Patrick Dempsey from the beginning, or if you had any ideas of someone else that you thought it could be, and would you like to see a Thanksgiving too? Leave those comments down below, guys. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone to know!